My story began when I discovered how Hyundai rose from the ashes of failure to inspire the world. I will never forget the chilling day everything unraveled. It was a quiet morning, the kind where the sun shone brightly, but shadows lurked. My heart raced as I clutched the letter in my shaking hands. It was the moment of truth, spiraling me into chaos. Inside, my family was a tapestry of emotions. My mother, her eyes glistening with disbelief. My younger brother, clueless, playing with toy cars, unaware of the storm brewing around us. I was their protector, but at that moment I felt like a failure. The air was thick, heavy with secrets. As I struggled to breathe, it all stemmed from a hidden past. Failures we were too proud to admit. There were whispers of scandal, the stories that hovered like ghosts in our home. I could feel the weight of unspoken words, the burden of shame. Hyundai's journey mirrored my own rise from despair to success, but the wounds of failure haunted me. As I dug deeper into the legacy, I uncovered bizarre truths. Did you know that just a few decades ago, Hyundai was on the brink of bankruptcy? The world saw it collapse, but behind the curtains, resilience forged an intricate dance with innovation. It was captivating. The vibrant green of a new dawn after the dark night of struggle echoed my family's story, a struggle that felt achingly familiar. The tension was palpable when I learned about their gamble on a new car that no one believed in, a risk that nearly cost them everything. I could imagine the boardrooms filled with anxious voices, the tremors of uncertainty echoing off the walls. Suddenly, a surge of hope intertwined with dread surged through me. What if we could turn our failures into something meaningful? But with each revelation, I could feel a shadow creeping around the edges of my heart. The parallels were almost too painful to bear. Would I have the courage to rise from my ashes? Like them? I paused, staring out of the window, watching the world pass by, a blur of colors and sounds. My thoughts spiraled. There had to be a way to embrace the past and build something beautiful again. But could I, in this chaotic mess of emotions? My mind raced, a whirlwind of possibilities. And just as I thought I found clarity, the phone buzzed ominously beside me. It was a message from an unrecognized number. My breath caught in my throat. What could it possibly contain? Was it a piece of news that would redeem me or shatter the fragile hope I had clung to? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The phone vibrated again, a persistent reminder of the unknown waiting for me. My heart raced as I hesitated, my finger hovering over the screen. Finally, I summoned the courage to open the message. It was a single line, stark and unsettling. I know the truth about your family. Panic gripped me. Who would send something like that? I glanced at my mother. Her brow creased with worry, or was it guilt? The weight of her silence felt like a shout in the quiet room. I couldn't let her see my fear, but the urgency of the moment twisted in my gut, urging me to act. Is everything okay? My brother chimed in, oblivious to the crackling tension. I forced a smile, ruffling his hair as I fought to calm my racing thoughts. Just a weird message, I replied, trying to sound casual. Nothing to worry about. I always tried to shield him from our family's unraveling story, the memories we kept tucked away like frayed postcards. But as I glanced out the window again, the world felt distinctly out of focus, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility hit me. I needed to uncover what this stranger knew, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. I decided to reach out to my closest friend, Leah. She had always been someone who understood my struggles. In the soft glow of her living room, she listened intently as I shared the unsettling message. People will gossip, especially when they sense vulnerability, she said, her voice soothing. But maybe this is a chance for you to reclaim your narrative. Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, but uncertainty still plagued my heart. Yet, deep down, hope flickered dimly as Leah suggested digging deeper into our family history together. The next day, we gathered in the town's dusty, cramped archives, a treasure trove of old records and photographs. As Leah flipped through faded newspapers, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. The air smelled of mildew and time, bringing with it whispers of dreams once lost. But we were determined to unearth stories that could reshape our future. And there it was, a small article, yellowed and torn, about my father when he was just starting out. The headline read, "Local innovator faces hardships to create a vision." As I skimmed the lines, my heart swelled with a mix of pride and pain. He had fought hard for recognition just like Hyundai. "Look," Leah said, nudging me when we stumbled upon an image of my father at a community event, his eyes sparkling with ambition. "There's so much strength in this." He rose above challenges. "You can too." Yet doubt whispered at the edges of my thoughts. Could I truly live up to that legacy? I shook off the doubts and continued searching for clues about the scandal I feared would define me. Then, tucked between even older pages, I found something, a handwritten letter from a family member I barely knew, hinting at an affair and decisions made in the shadows. The words cut deep, unraveling stories worse than the ones I had imagined. "This isn't just about you anymore," Leah said softly, the kindness in her voice a balm to my discomfort. "This is about understanding who we are, where we come from, and figuring out how to move forward." I nodded but felt a storm brewing inside me. How could we face what lay ahead? Was there a way to confront the uncomfortable truths without dismantling my family's fragile unity? That night, I lay awake, consumed by thoughts of shame, history, and the looming message from the unknown sender. My family's sacred stories felt like a collection of masks we wore to hide our true selves. But as I wrestled with the burden of revelation, a flicker of warmth spread through my heart. It was Leah's unwavering support, a small moment of hope amid the chaos. But that hope dimmed abruptly when my phone buzzed again. My breath caught as I opened the message from the same unrecognized number. "He'll share everything about your family unless you want to meet. I know the secrets you want to keep buried." In that moment, the weight of my fears settled on my chest, more suffocating than ever. I had entered a game with stakes I never intended to play, and the tension tightened around me like a noose. What secrets did this stranger possess? And where would they lead me? My heart raced as reality twisted, and the boundaries of my resolve blurred, looming far beyond my peak of hope. The room felt suffocating, the walls closing in as I stared at my phone, pulse racing with every word of that threatening message. I could hear the clock ticking, each second a reminder that time was running out. My mind reeled with possibilities. Who could this be? What did they know? I took a breath, swallowed my fear, and made my way to the kitchen, seeking comfort in the familiar hum of daily life. The smell of my mother baking an apple pie filled the air, an aroma that usually calmed my stormy thoughts. But today, it felt like a cruel reminder of the idyllic childhood I was desperately trying to protect. "Hey, you okay?" my mother asked, glancing up as I entered. Her flour-dusted hands paused in their work. I could see the worry etched on her brow. It felt unfair that I had put so much distance between us when all she wanted was to bridge the gap. "Just a busy day," I said, forcing a smile. "You know how it is." As I helped her roll out the crust, a strange silence fell between us. Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Mom, do you remember when Dad lost the big contract with the investors? You always said it was one of his toughest moments." She stopped, rolling pins still in hand. "Of course." Her voice was a fragile whisper. "Did anything else happen? Were there rumors?" I held my breath, willing her to say something that would ease the knot of anxiety in my stomach. Her eyes flickered away, fixing on the flour-dusted countertops. "There were always rumors, honey. People love to talk when they sense weakness." I opened my mouth to press further, but the look on her face warned me that I was venturing into territory that could shatter the delicate balance of our lives. Instead, I watched her resume her work, every pinch of dough fueled by the weight of unspoken truths after dinner. The family gathered on the couch to watch some mindless television, the flickering screen providing a momentary distraction. But my mind wasn't on the show. I was lost in a whirlwind of anxiety and unresolved questions. I needed to respond to the stranger, but I couldn't risk dragging my family into this tidal wave of drama. Leah's words echoed in my mind. This was a chance to reclaim my narrative. Would confronting whatever lay hidden truly help? Or would it just bring more hurt? As I wrestled with these thoughts, my phone buzzed again, pulling me from my reverie. Tomorrow at the coffee shop. They'll tell you everything you need to know about the lies your family lives. I froze, heart hammering a frantic pattern in my chest. Tomorrow? How could I be ready? I glanced at my brother, who sat giggling at something on the screen, blissfully unaware of the storm threatening to upend our family. I knew I couldn't let him see my fear. Hey, wanna go for ice cream tomorrow? I asked him, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. His face lit up. Can we go to that new place on Pine Street? I nodded, grateful for this small moment of normalcy amidst my chaos. Seeing his excitement reminded me that no matter the fear lurking in the shadows, there was still a brightness tethering me to hope. That night as I lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, shadows flickering across the walls like specters of my uncertainty, I felt trapped in a web of secrets. Why did the truth about my family feel like a monster lurking beneath the surface? With barely any sleep, dawn arrived too soon. Tremors of anxiety coursed through me as I prepared for the meeting. I glanced in the mirror, searching for a semblance of courage. I had to confront this source of unease, to stand strong in the face of potentially devastating truths. At the coffee shop, the bell above the door chimed ominously as I stepped inside. My eyes scanned the patrons, heart in my throat, waiting for a face to appear amidst the swirl of barista chatter and sizzling machines. Then I saw the email stalker, a nondescript figure hunched in a dark corner, coffee untouched before them. Oh, you have a seat? They asked, their voice low and flat as I approached. As I settled in, dread thrumming in my chest, they slid a folder across the table. Your family isn't what you think, they began, their eyes dark and unyielding. Let's start with this. My breath hitched, the weight of danger twisting in my gut. I froze, knowing that the unraveling secrets locked inside these pages could fracture everything I held dear. I was standing on the precipice of revelation, the ground shifting beneath me with each passing second. In that moment, hope felt ceaselessly fragile. That I opened the folder, only to find photographs, images that would bear testimony to things better left in the shadows. My heart sank as the reality of the situation hit me. My family's story was about to change forever, and there was no way back from what I was about to discover. The photographs stared back at me, stark and unyielding, captured moments that held the weight of my family's buried history. I flicked through each image, my mind racing as pieces of a chilling puzzle began to fit together. Tense faces, shaking hands, and stocky buildings looming as backdrops to conversations I had always been too naive to question. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, carrying threads of panic, while my eyes burned with unshed tears. What do you want? I managed to whisper, my voice trembling. The stranger leaned back, a smirk tugging at their lips. To show you the truth, they said, their tone ominous. Doesn't it intrigue you? Wouldn't you want to know what they've hidden all these years? I slammed the folder shut, defiance flickering in my chest. It doesn't matter. My family, your family, they interrupted, their words cutting through the air like a knife, is built upon lies. Lies that, when revealed, will crumble everything you cherish. Do you not want to know if your innocence has been sold away? An involuntary shiver ran down my spine. The possibility of truths, hidden behind a curtain of normalcy, sent my heart spiraling into a maelstrom of tumult. "To need time," I stammered, clutching the edges of the chair for stability. But the courage I claimed felt like a facade as I dunked myself deeper into this dark world. I stood and turned away, the urge to flee surging within me. Losing my family, my home felt unbearable. Yet, the weight of the unknown dragged at me, pulling me toward an uncertain fate. My heart yearned for answers, yet fear rooted me in place. "Wait," the stranger's voice rippled through the air, urgent and sharp. Before you go, just remember this, there is always a choice. Do you want to remain blissfully ignorant? Or do you want to ignite a fire that can either burn your roots or nourish your new growth? I paused a moment, glancing back toward the table, battling the desire to unearth my family's buried truths and the crippling terror of what I might find. With a quick inhale, I left before I could overthink my decision, departing the coffee shop, my breath catching in the chill of the morning air. Outside, the crispness of autumn brushed against my skin, contrasting the tempest brewing within. Clutching the folder against my chest, I walked, each step heavy with dread. My phone buzzed, the screen lighting up with an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, dread pooling in my stomach. "Please, you have to help me. I know about the rumors." A shaky voice gasped on the other end. Panic seeped through each syllable. "If they find out I spoke to you, they'll..." "Who is this?" I demanded, cutting off whatever plea was bubbling at the edges. "They'll come for you too," the voice warned, a choked sob breaking through. "They've hurt people before, and they don't stop until they get what they want." A hollow pit opened inside me. My hands trembled with a chilling realization. There was more at stake than I had ever imagined. "Who are they?" I pressed, praying for clarity within the chaos that I can't say. "You need to trust me. Just meet me. There's so much more you don't understand." "No," I exclaimed, my heart hammering in my chest. "I can't." But deep down I knew I would. My desire for truth spiraled into desperation, igniting an inner fire I could no longer ignore. I could not shrink back any longer. My family's fate, my fate, was entwined with secrets I had yet to uncover. After the call cut off, I paced aimlessly, the walls of my world trembling under the pressure of turmoil. My brother's laughter echoed in my mind, a reminder of innocence slipping away too fast. A tiny voice in my heart begged me to protect him, to shield him from the shattering darkness that loomed on the horizon, yet I had no apparent plan. The heaviness of dread pressed against my chest as I glanced at the folder resting on the table when I got home. I wanted to conceal the evidence of my newfound knowledge but realized that I couldn't. Those images knew, and so did Ithier. Was no pretending anymore. Days passed in a blur of anxiety and sleepless nights. Felt myself unraveling, the bright moments with my family dimming as shadows loomed closer. Breakfasts became quieter, conversations stilted, my laughter a ghost haunting the corners of our family home. Each time I brought up something light, I felt my mother's fragmented gaze cutting through me, layering my worry with guilt. One evening, I overheard my parents arguing in hushed tones, words laced with urgency cracking beneath their pressure. I pressed my ear closer to the door, my insides churning, each phrase echoing louder: mistrust, decisions, secrets, and consequences hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. "We can't hide it from her anymore." I heard my mother's voice quaver, the weight of something unexpressed nestled within her words. "Not yet." My father's voice warred back. "She will never forgive us." If I stepped back, the blood rushing in my ears. My body recoiled as raw fear twisted my stomach. I felt my entire universe swell and quiver. Trust, the very foundation my family stood upon, was already crumbling. And then, a knock on the door pulled me from my spiraling thoughts, each bone in my body tensing at the sudden rush of anticipation. It could be the stranger. It could be news of my foreboding fate. Or perhaps even the shadow of truth I feared most, one that would upend my fragile existence. I couldn't let it in, yet I was drawn like a moth to a flame caught in the clutches of potential revelation. The knock echoed through the silence of the house, a sharp intrusion that sent ripples of unease racing through me. My heart thudded against my ribcage, an irregular drumbeat to the symphony of secrets unfolding behind closed doors. I hesitated, its sound hanging in the air like a question I dared not answer yet felt compelled to confront. Inch by inch, I approached the door, each step fueled by a mixture of trepidation and a nebulous hope that maybe, just maybe, this could lead me to the answers I so desperately sought. I opened it a crack, my breath held tightly in my throat. Revealing a figure in the twilight glow that it was an elderly woman with gray hair tied in an unkempt bun. Her presence commanding yet warm, as if the passage of time had crafted her into a vessel of knowledge and intuition. She peered up at me from beneath bushy eyebrows, her gaze glazing to the edges of knowing, and I hesitated further. "Hello, dear. May I come in?" she asked, her voice soft but carrying the weight of authority. I glanced back at the family room where my parents' argument still reverberated, muffled but palpable, the urgency swelling into a cocktail of fear and curiosity. Please. You have questions and I have answers," she urged, her eyes glimmering with an understanding that seemed ancient. As if she had walked this path long before, I opened the door wider, uncertainty nipping at my heels, but before I could ask what brought her here, she stepped into the dim light of our living room. She observed the surroundings, her fingers trembling slightly as they brushed the edges of the scattered photographs on the table. "You've stumbled upon the past, haven't you?" she said, her voice a whisper laced with reverence. I swallowed hard, resisting the urge to shield the folder from her sight. "Who are you?" "I'm just a messenger of the truth," she replied, her eyes now alight with an urgency that resonated deep within me. "Your family has had its share of shadows, but there is light to be found. I've come to show you that light before darkness seeps in too deeply." The weight of her words settled heavily over me. "What do you know?" I demanded, conviction threading through my voice. "Are you here to help, or to further bury me under more secrets?" She shook her head slowly, a sad smile crossing her features as if she carried an ancient grief. "I came to bring warning but also hope. You stand at a crossroads. The choice you face is daunting, yet there's strength in knowledge, dear." She pointed to the folder resting on the table, hidden behind a fragile veil of normalcy. "You've begun to unravel something that could either unite your family or tear it apart. Either way, you can't turn back." Her gaze pierced through the tumultuous emotions swirling within me and, despite the gravity of the moment, I felt a thread of connection. "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing as I edged closer to this unexpected ally. "Your family has silenced many truths for far too long. It's not just about them now, it's about you too. Each generation has its burdens, but you have a chance to pull the thread and see where it leads. Pretending won't erase what's been done, but confronting it might." Tears began to prick at the corners of my eyes, frustration woven into each breath. "But what if the truth shatters everything? What if I lose them forever?" The woman took a step forward, her hand resting gently on my shoulder. "Remember, when you peel away layers, you may also discover the strength to rebuild. There are those who will stand by you in this, people like me who want to help. It's painful, but this journey can forge a bond stronger than you've ever known." Her words hung in the air, entwining my hope and fear into an intricate tapestry. In those moments, I felt the raw yearning within me, a desire to protect my family at all costs, yet a deeper pull to unravel the lies that sought to suffocate us in silence. The shadows in the room seemed to shift as another realization surged within me. Something important had been left unsaid. "You know my family, don't you?" I probed, uncertainty lining my voice. "You've seen it all, the lies." She nodded gravely, her expression somber. "I do. The past is a weight, but it isn't unmanageable. Each of us has a story of struggle, and I have come to remind you that hope often reveals itself in the darkest of places." Just then, my phone buzzed again, breaking the tension like a stone thrown into water. My pulse quickened as I checked the screen, another unknown number, vibrating with potential peril. "What if they trace me?" I muttered, glancing nervously at the door. The woman's eyes softened, filled with compassion. "You must answer it. You are at a pivotal moment, dear. Choose to embrace this, even if the outcome is uncertain." With a trembling hand, I accepted the call. "Hello?" A laughter burst forth from the other side, terrible and familiar. "Did you think you could hide from me forever?" My heart sank as I recognized the voice, someone I had never wanted to encounter again. Someone who thrived in the shadows of my family's past. "Who are you? What do you want?" My voice faltered, the ground beneath me shifting as panic gripped my thoughts. "Let's just say it's time for a reunion. Bring your little friend with you. We have much to discuss about your family's legacy." The voice dripped with malice, hanging ominously in the air. I turned to the elderly woman, my heart racing out of control. She met my gaze, her eyes ablaze with a mixture of fear and urgency. This was it. The crossroad had been set ablaze, and there was no retreating now. My family's legacy wasn't just a collection of photographs. It carried the weight of the past, threading through shadows that chased us even now. And somehow, I had to navigate this impending storm. The unfamiliar voice echoed in my head long after I hung up, its taunt still clinging to the atmosphere of my home like a thick fog. Panic gripped my chest, while the woman's hand remained anchored on my shoulder, grounding me in that chaotic moment. "You didn't tell me," I stammered. "You knew this would happen, didn't you?" The old woman's expression shifted. The shadows that had danced across her features deepened, revealing the weight of secrets she carried. "I didn't know it would be this soon, but I feared it was inevitable. Those who thrive on darkness often resurface just when you're on the brink of light." "Why?" I croaked, my throat dry from unshed tears. "Why now?" She released a heavy sigh, the kind that seems to resonate with a lifetime of experiences. "Because fear is like a vine. It grows in the shadows and wraps itself around the truth until it suffocates it. If you don't confront the source, it will continue to spread, choking the very life out of your family." "I can't do this alone," I admitted, voice trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. "You won't have to," she promised, a hint of fierceness returning to her voice. "There are allies close by and stories waiting to intertwine with yours. Family isn't solely about blood. It's about those who choose to stand beside you in your toughest battles." The thunder of my pulse began to steadied by her words. Just as I started to believe that maybe I wasn't alone in this fight, the thought of my parents, entrenched in their chaotic argument, crashed back into my awareness. "That I have to go to them," I said, the fear creeping back into my veins like ice water. "They need to know what's happening." "Very well," she said, withdrawing her hand, "but remain vigilant. You cannot share everything just yet. There are greater forces at play." Before I could ponder her cryptic advice, I charged toward the living room, each step heavy with uncertainty. When I entered, the raised voices ceased, replaced by an uneasy silence that stretched between my parents like an unspoken truth. They turned to me, faces flushed, brows knitted in concern. "Where have you been?" my mother demanded, her tone sharp but edged with worry. "Something's happening," I breathed, my words spilling out in a rush. "Someone called Masamion who knows about our past. We might be in danger." My father's face paled, a stark contrast against his usual stoic demeanor. "Who was it?" "I don't know. They didn't tell me their name, but they want to reunite. It's about legacy. They said there are things we need to discuss, and I'm scared. I think it's connected to why you two keep fighting." My father's eyes narrowed, and my mother flinched, their gazes suddenly filled with the kind of tension reserved for unspoken reproaches. "You should ignore such threats," he said. "Whoever it is, they're trying to manipulate you." "But what if they're not?" I pressed, desperation igniting my words. "What if they hold the answers we need? This could be about all those photos and documents, things I discovered." "Stop," my mother shouted, her voice breaking under the strain. "We've made our mistakes, but we don't need the past to haunt us. It's time to let go." "Let go?" I echoed, incredulity boiling within me. "And do what? Pretend that nothing ever happened? We can't just bury this. It's suffocating us." Just then, the phone buzzed again, echoing a somber reminder that my time was running short. I looked down to see a text message flash across the screen from that unknown number. "They'll be watching. Do you think you can protect them from the truth?" "Who is it?" my father questioned, concern etching deeper lines into his forehead. "It doesn't matter," I replied, trembling but resolute. "What matters is we need to face this together." I end the deafening silence that followed. I glanced back at the elderly woman, who had somehow found her way into the room, standing just behind me like a sentinel of reassurance. "Will you trust me to help you?" I asked my parents, my voice barely more than a whisper. A flicker of hesitation passed between them, and for a moment, I thought perhaps I stood at the chasm's edge, ready to plunge. My heart ached, torn between loyalty toward them and the dawning realization that nothing would ever truly change until the unspoken truths were unearthed. What I didn't expect was the sudden crack of the door bursting open behind me as the faint howl of the wind spiraled into the house. A silhouette filled the threshold, dark and foreboding, a figure that sent shards of fear pinching down my spine. Someone from the shadows had come to claim their due, and the foundation of everything I thought I understood was about to be tested. "Looks like the reunion has begun." The sinister voice laughed, echoing the twisted familiarity I wished to forget. As I stood frozen, caught between the frail line of hope and impending despair, the figure at the door moved with an eerie confidence, their presence drawing an involuntary gasp from my mother. I felt the air around me grow thick with tension as my heart raced, pounding in my chest like a drum signaling the start of a battle. "Who are you?" my father demanded, stepping forward as if to shield us from this interloper. The defiance in his voice belied the tremor in his hands. The stranger smiled, a calculated grin that felt predatory. "Ah, the zealous protector. You've always been so eager to play the knight in shining armor." Their voice carried a chilling calmness that suggested they were all too familiar with our family's history. "But I'm here to offer something much more valuable than bravado." "Enough," my mother interjected, her voice cracking with fear. "What do you want?" "It's simple, really," the stranger said, glancing at me with eyes that seemed to pierce right through my facade. "I want to help you unveil the truth. It's time for all of you to confront the past, to acknowledge the darkness that festers beneath your carefully maintained surfaces." I felt an overwhelming surge of anger rising within me, mingling with the fear and confusion. "And why should we trust you?" I spat. "You're just another Shidono better than the one who called me." The stranger let out a low, amused chuckle. "Trust is a fragile thing, especially when built on foundations of lies. But that's exactly why I'm here." They stepped further into the room, their shadow swallowing the light. "I bear gifts of truth, revelations that could free you from this cycle of pain or bind you to it forever, my family," and I exchanged anxious glances, and I could feel the unspoken pact of secrecy tautening between us. It was as if the walls around our home had suddenly closed in, trapping us against a swirling storm of emotions. Just outside, I could hear the soft lashing of rain against the window, mimicking the turmoil inside. "Listen," the woman beside me spoke up, her voice rising with an undertone of authority. "What you're offering may sound enticing, but trust earned through intimidation is the fastest route to despair." The figure regarded her for a moment, a flicker of amusement crossing their face. Well, aren't we bold? How delightful to see someone not afraid to stand up to shadows." It shifted its gaze back to my parents and me, the amusement fading into a cool intensity. "But you forget. The scars of the past do not easily fade. Madness thrives on entrapment, and I'm here to offer an escape or an acceptance, whichever you choose." "What do you mean?" My voice broke through the sharp atmosphere, urgency propelling my words forward. "What do we need to accept?" "I can show you," the figure answered, glancing at my phone, now buzzing incessantly with messages I had neglected. "You want answers? Let me be the key to unlock the door you've kept bolted." Before I could think clearly enough to refuse, the figure extended a hand, revealing an object nestled within its palm, a small locket, glistening with a strange allure that made my chest tighten. "Inside lies the proof of your legacy. Will you take it?" My mother shook her head vehemently, backing away. "We have no interest in your games. Whatever it is, we'll find out on our terms." "Your terms?" The figure's laughter had a sharp edge. "You think you're the ones in control here? The past has a way of steering the ship, even when the crew refuses to acknowledge the storm brewing on the horizon." I could feel the weight of the locket pulling at my heartstrings, a magnet of fate I was too afraid to confront. "Maybe it's time for us to stop running," I murmured. My words barely registered above the chaos swirling in the room, but they hung in the air heavily. "What are you saying?" my father asked, disbelief flickering in his eyes. "I don't know," I admitted, anguish rising within me. "But avoiding the truth is killing us. Maybe this is our chance to understand, to fight back." The silence was suffocating. But just then, my phone buzzed again. This time, the unknown number had sent two simple words. "Trust no one." A cold chill rushed through me. An echoing reminder of the shadows that lurked around every corner. My mother's hand trembled against the warmth of my arm, her eyes pleading with me to reconsider. Before I could respond, the figure's face turned stern. The choice is yours. Hope in the light of knowledge, or blind yourself and bend your lives to the whims of the shadows. But choose wisely, for there are forces at play far beyond your understanding. And as I looked into those haunting eyes, the truth became a swirling tempest of dread and potential, flooding my senses with a mix of fear and fragile hope. That I end that moment. A crackle of thunder resonated in the distance, shaking the room. Then, the locket slipped from the stranger's grasp, landing on the ground with a dull thud. The lights flickered, casting erratic shadows around me. I watched as the figure stepped back, their bodies seeming to blur at the edges, almost vanishing into the darkness. Choose well, for the consequences will echo through the ages, they whispered, their voice fading like the chilling wind. The locket lay before me, glimmering with secrets I had yet to confront, and the weight of the moment settled heavily over the tumult of my heart. What if my choice began a chain reaction I could never anticipate? As realization dawned, a chilling thought pierced my mind. What if the truth was far darker than I had ever imagined? The door slammed shut behind the figure, leaving us in a fractured silence, the shadows longer, deeper, and more sinister than before. The air hung thick with unresolved tension, each person in the room a prisoner of their unspoken fears. The locket, like a black hole, demanded my attention, drawing every ounce of my curiosity even as dread coiled around my heart. Its edges sparkled ominously under the flickering lights, casting dizzying reflections on the walls. I stepped forward, my feet moving before my thoughts could catch up. The rest of my family remained rooted in place, looks of uncertainty and anxiety written across their faces. I need to see it, I whispered, half to myself. No, my mother shot out, her voice sharp and desperate. Don't you dare touch it. We have no idea what it could lead to. But I couldn't stop the urge that surged within me. I crouched down to pick it up, noticing how cool it felt against my palm. The locket was engraved with an intricate design that resembled a family crest, a tapestry of our past woven into metal. I glanced at my parents, searching their faces for reassurance or guidance, but I found only fear of what was buried within us, and fear of what this night would bring. Please, I said, my voice weaker now, what if it leads us to answers we've been longing for? What if it uncovers the truth we've hidden from? Sometimes, ignorance is bliss, my father said, his voice barely above a whisper. His gaze darted away from me, as if he couldn't bear the weight of my curiosity. With trembling hands, I flicked open the locket, revealing 2 tiny photographs ensconced within. They shone brightly, and for a moment, the world around me faded. A young woman with laughing eyes stared back from one half, while the other side housed a man stern yet familiar, resonating with echoes of whispered stories I had grown up hearing. Who are they? I murmured, entranced as fragments of my childhood triggered my memory. Is Tis this Aunt Lila and Uncle James? My mother's face fell, color draining from her cheeks. She suddenly looked years older as the truths of our past hung unambiguously in the air. She began before faltering. They were part of a life we left behind. The locket felt heavy in my hand, not just with metal but with the weight of generations. But why? I pressed, my pulse racing. Why did we abandon them? What happened? Because some truths are too painful to bear, my mother replied, her eyes misting. Their lives were tangled in events we swore never to speak of again. It was a choice made out of protective instinct. Protective instinct? My voice rose, frustration seeping through my words. Or fear. We can't keep running away from what happened. This is our chance. I don't want you involved in this, my father interjected sharply, stepping forward with a sense of urgency. You don't know what it could open up. We barely made it away. You could be inviting danger. Just then, the lights flickered once more before plunging us into a momentary darkness. My heart leaped into my throat, and I could hear the control breaking in my father's voice. We can't let whatever is out there seep back into our lives. Or maybe what's out there is already in our lives, I countered, gritting my teeth. We've been living the lies for too long. Suddenly, my phone vibrated in my pocket once more, breaking the tense moment. I reached for it, the screen illuminating my face and revealing yet another message from the unknown number. "You're closer than you think." My breath caught in my throat. "This feels wrong," I admitted, glancing at the locket in my hand, then back at my parents. "But I think there's something we need to learn. Something that could change everything." The room fell silent, our breaths echoing in the intimate space. Then, a desperate knock rattled against the door, jolting us from our stasis. I exchanged glances with my parents, a silent question hanging in the air. Who could it be at this hour, with the storm gaining intensity outside? As I opened the door, the fingers of uncertainty gripped my heart with furor. The gratitude of kindness was absent. Instead, a stranger stood there drenched from the rain, eyes wild with urgency. They were gasping for breath as if they had run a marathon through the tempest outside. "Please help me," they pleaded. But before they could catch their breath enough to conjure coherent words, a flash of lightning lit the night, reflecting a familiar desperation in their eyes. "Evelyn?" The name escaped my lips, disbelief mingling with recognition. The truth. The name clawed at me, amplifying the tumult of emotions as I struggled to comprehend whether this was merely a figment of my imagination or the truth threatening to unravel everything we had tried to avoid. As fear washed over me anew, I felt the chill settle deeper within my bones. Whatever was unfolding, we weren't just confronting our past anymore. The shadows around us were tightening, demanding reckoning. Evelyn's arrival had changed everything, and for the first time, I felt a surge of impending doom mixed with flickers of hope, all stirring within this chaotic moment, sharpening the edges of the truth that approached at breakneck speed. The question echoed in my mind. Would it bring salvation or the final thrust of darkness? As the rain pounded against the door with relentless ferocity, Evelyn stepped into our home, a figure both familiar and foreign, as if steeped in shadow yet glowing with the light of possibility. "I need your help," she repeated, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper, yet infused with a determination that made the air vibrate around us. My heart raced, caught in the crossfire of fear and curiosity. What had driven her to seek us out after years of silence? The locket, still warm in my palm, felt like an igniter to an old flame that had yet to flicker out. I swept my gaze over my parents' faces, each adorned with a mix of apprehension and acknowledgement, a mosaic of emotions as complex as the storm outside. "Evelyn," my mother finally said, her voice soft yet full of the weight of memories. "You shouldn't be here. Not now." "I don't have much time," she pressed, her eyes darting back to the door. "It's not safe. They're coming for us." "Who's coming?" my father barked, protective instincts flaring in his posture. But the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. Evelyn hesitated, and in that moment, I saw the girl I had known, vibrant and fearless, lost in the chaos spun of fear and longing. "They don't want you to find out," she said, her breath hitching. "But the truth about Aunt Lila and Uncle James, everything they left behind, is more dangerous than you know." I took a tentative step forward, my pulse pounding in time with the rain. "What did you mean? What truth?" "Your family's past isn't just hidden. It's alive. It's been waiting." She paused, fixing me with a penetrating gaze that seemed to sift through generations of secrets. "And your locket's a key to something we thought we could leave buried. But it's coming back now, hunting for us." I opened my mouth to respond, but a deafening crack of thunder reverberated through the room, causing us all to jump. The lights flickered again, straining under the pressure of the storm outside. The moment felt fragile, poised on the brink of something monumental. "Let her in, honey," my father said finally, his voice now laden with something I hadn't heard before, fear tinged with understanding. "If we want to confront our past, we need to know what we're up against." With a nod, Evelyn stepped deeper into the room, and I felt the air shift, a subtle promise of danger and revelations intermixed. She had become a reflection of the echoes in my soul, a reminder that our family was overshadowed by more than just memories. "Do you remember the stories of the wardens?" she asked, looking directly at me. "They're real, and they're after us. They've always been watching." My mother's eyes widened. "No, that can't be true. We left that life behind. But they didn't leave us. Evelyn exclaimed, urgency pushing her words through trembling lips. They remain hidden but very much alive. And they've grown stronger. We need to move now. My heart sank further at this revelation. The realization that whatever darkness my family had tried to escape was poised to reclaim us. What do? I asked, my throat dry. First, we need the locket, she said, pointing at it, as if recognizing its symbolic importance in this twisted narrative. Contains secrets that must be unlocked, and only then can we fight back. It'll lead us to the truth, the one that will either save us or destroy us. A weighty choice loomed in front of me. This was more than a fight against the past. It was a desperate plea for survival in the encroaching shadow of a reality we could no longer ignore. I'll do it, I affirmed, determination threading my words. I'll unlock whatever it reveals. I need to know. As if sensing my resolve, the lights flickered one last time before sputtering out, plunging us into darkness. An unexpected noisy knock, this time more insistent, resounded through the house, startling me. In the bleak shadows, I could see Evelyn's anxious eyes dart toward the door, and my parents' expressions contorted further into fear. I clutched the locket tight, feeling its cool edges burn against my skin, and whispered, we can't let them silence us again. We have to face this. The knock came. Again, louder now, reverberating through the silence that sat deep within my chest. I moved toward the door, the weight of what was happening pulling me inexorably forward. Maybe it was foolish, but we were already ensnared in a conflict far deeper than personal strife. Whatever lay on the other side, I understood that it could either be our redemption or our undoing. As I grasped the doorknob, a crushing anticipation pooled within me. With one swift motion, I flung the door open. What awaited us beyond it was the final piece of the puzzle, ready to expose our deepest fears or our greatest hopes. But the sight that greeted me turned my breath into ice. Standing there in the pouring rain, amidst the cacophony of thunder, were three figures cloaked in shadow, their faces obscured but their presence unmistakably formidable. And in that moment, the edge of our carefully maintained veil was rent, revealing that the past I had so desperately wanted to confront was now crashing into our present, pulling us toward a terrifying future. What we had avoided for so long had finally found us, and the true battle for our truths and lives had begun. As I faced the three figures, a mix of adrenaline and dread swirled within me. My mind raced through memories crammed with whispers of legends I had dismissed as mere family lore. The wardens. Stories recounted over flickering candlelight about a shadowy lineage that dared to breach the boundaries we had constructed around our lives. I took a deep breath, forcing my heart to steady in the storm of emotions. Beside me, Evelyn's presence shimmered with an urgency that felt both familiar and foreign. We need answers, I whispered to her. But are they here to help us or bring ruin? One of the figures stepped forward, their voice cutting through the howling wind like a knife. Answers are but threads in a tapestry. It's the courage to weave them together that unravels the full picture. The words were cryptic, yet they stirred something deep within me, understanding that this was not merely a confrontation but a reckoning. Do you have the locket? The figure's gaze was locked onto my hand, where the trinket rested, now feeling more than just a piece of jewelry. It pulsed with significance, a key to uncharted territories of our family's hidden past. Why do you want it? My voice quavered, the weight of uncertainty settling over my shoulders as I prepared myself for whatever revelation was about to unfold. What does it mean? It holds the lives you've tried to bury, the figure said, the stories you've kept silent all these years. You possess the key to change your family's fate, but with such knowledge comes a burden, one that demands to be faced, lest it engulf you entirely. Thunder rumbled in sync with my unease. The air crackled with tension as the storm outside rattled the window frames. What kind of burden? I pressed, glancing at my parents, their expressions a blend of fear and determination as they silently urged me on. Your family made choices, decisions that echoed far beyond their time. The figure continued, a flash of lightning illuminating their features for just a moment, an ageless look that twisted my insides. Some of them were sacrifices to keep you safe, but freedom costs dearly. You must open the locket and uncover the voiceless truths locked inside. Do you really think we want to drag up ghosts from the past? My father interjected, anger glazed with desperation. This isn't some adventure, it's a nightmare. But it is your nightmare, your legacy, the figure responded with a piercing force. You cannot run from it any longer. Seizing upon a spark of courage ignited by uncertainty, I turned to my parents. We've spent so long pretending. Maybe it's time we actually confront what haunts us. Together, my stomach churned. Each word felt like a fragile offering on the altar of familial strain. Together, my mother echoed, eyes glistening as if the floodgates of an avalanche were about to burst. What if we lose everything? What if we open the door and find nothing but despair? They'll take that risk, I said, resolve integrating itself into my heart, surging forth with a wave of warmth I had long kept hidden. I'd rather face this now than let it control us forever. The storm around us seemed to quiet, every raindrop and gust of wind entrusting my words with a profound significance. Evelyn nodded, her eyes reflecting an inkling of belief. They'll stand with you no matter what. You'll learn the truth behind our very existence, the sacrifices made for us, and the shadows waiting just beyond our threshold. What if the truth is worse than we imagined? My father asked, his voice softer now, laced with a hint of vulnerability. What if it tears us apart? I have to know, I answered, glancing back at the figures cloaked in rain, uncertainty etched so deeply into their features that they felt almost human. Let me decide whether the weight is worth bearing. With a trembling hand, I brought the locket closer, the coolness sending shivers racing across my skin. I could feel every heartbeat resonating in my chest as I clicked it open, revealing the delicate photographs caught between time-frozen moments of familial love interspersed with the eerie echoes of hidden betrayal. They were not frightening. They were pieces of us that I in that instant. The shadows around us flickered, appearing to breathe as if they swelled in response to knowing their history was no longer shrouded by silence. Time seemed to stretch, filling the air with a charged stillness. I glanced at my parents, each locked in a silent struggle, torn between the fear of revelation and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this was our chance to redefine who we were. The air around us thrummed with tension, and suddenly, the figures surged forward, unveiling their faces to the light. Each was familiar in an unsettling way, striking at the heart of loss and longing. They mirrored family, friends, and even enemies we had all but forgotten, distorting the boundaries we had once believed so solid. It's time to embrace the truth, one of them said, a flash of recognition linking us as the space between past and present narrowed. Together, we can dismantle the lies constraining your family. But this requires courage and acceptance of everything you've ever dreaded. Like a chain reaction sparked by raw need, courage unfurled within me, illuminating forgotten paths and unspoken bonds. Together, I affirmed, my voice rising above the storm, a declaration pulsing with power. Together, we will confront the darkness and emerge renewed, as thunder rolled in the distance. The silhouettes of our family gathered closer, the shadows intertwining, warming under the glow of truth. In that singular heartbeat, hope began to seep into our very fabric, crackling the barriers that had held us captive for too long. And it was in that moment of fervent conviction, a fierce bond binding us to one another, that we felt the storm begin to clear, the truth illuminating the night like a beacon guiding us home. In the embrace of our renewed strength, I knew that the past would reveal its secrets, that we were not alone, and that together, we could redefine our legacy. And with unwavering resolve, I faced the shadows head-on, prepared to embrace whatever awaited us in the light, and no longer would we run. Our stories deserve to be told, the unknown acknowledged, and together, we would rise stronger from the ashes of our history.